in order to be able to move forward. So who we have here, we have Denise Laudenbach. She's the current district governor of 5M9, and I'm telling you, she has got 5M9 on fire and is doing an absolute wonderful job. Denise, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you guys are doing, will you?
I would love to do that. Thank you so much for having me and happy Wednesday, everybody. Well, we talk, Brian, your energy is like screaming through my screen. And the big thing that Brian just was sharing with us, it really is all about having fun. There's great awards and things going on, but if you don't have fun along the way, it doesn't matter. So I got to start out with doing some bubbles. I love bubbles and I love having fun. So I'm from 5M9. I'm in Minnesota, and I am the district governor this year for our fantastic 5M9 district, and also blessed enough to be the council chair elect. So, going to be able to help our multiple as much as I possibly can in achieving these goals. So, the success that we've had this last year truly starts out with reflecting on the past, and what I mean by that is we began as a GAT team and we identified what worked well last year in building new teams. Last year, we built one new teams, new clubs. Last year, we built one new club. So, as a GAT team, we got together and we talked about what went well in building that club. And if we had to do it over again, what would we do different? And we looked at data and historical information of, we looked at a 5-year trend of the dynamics of our district, so that we knew honestly where we had skinned our knees, and that we could identify and work some strategy around where we skinned our knees to improve, and then enhancing what we did really well. I hope I'm making sense so far, because it's interesting. I'm talking to my own screen. It's kind of funny. Um, the next thing, and Jody, if you can, there you go. So we reflected on the past and we built the an awesome GAT team, and we did all of our work together as a team. No one worked in silos. So the next thing that we did was that we put in 4 core principles. And everything that we did as a G team centered around our 4 core principles. And that first principle was meaningful, and is what we were doing as leaders in our district, meaningful to our members, but meaningful in building new clubs? Was it meaningful to a community? The next of the 4 core principles is relevant. Building a new club in a community, is it relevant to that community? Not that we're just plucking something out of the air and pulling it from our backside thinking, oh, this sounds fun. Hey, my cousin lives in this community. Maybe I'll go there. But if it's not relevant to a community or to a group of people to build a new club, then it wasn't necessarily on the top of our priority list. The third of the 4 core principles is inclusive, and is what we're doing in building new clubs inclusive of everyone in the community? Um, are we being welcoming and diverse? And then, of course, you guys, I don't know if you can guess what that 4th core principle is, but it's 3 letters and it stands for fun. If it's not fun, then we're not going to do it. And in fact, if as we looked at targets and where we were going to run as a team and helping build these clubs and communities, if it didn't hit those 4 categories of our core principles, then we just didn't do it. And we looked in and went in a different direction. So not only in building clubs with those 4 core principles, but it was a foundation of our approach to our membership, because building new clubs is one thing, but retention is another, and both are extremely important. So you have to be able to look at both sides of the coin. No pun intended, Brian. So the next step that we did was we built a shared message. We built for, and when I say we, the GAT team, so as you continue to hear me say we over the next few minutes, it means the G team. We built a core message that everyone spoke, every leader on our team, on our cabinet, spoke that same message, and everyone was given talking points. And we practiced and we became comfortable with the message so that no matter who was out talking to communities, talking to people and organizations of starting a new club or in our existing clubs, the messaging was consistent. So, and we had all had those talking points. So that was really important. The next piece that we did was we targeted the right markets. This is the huge core of what we did. And one of the big things that we did is we shifted our focus on traditional building clubs in a community. Um, and it really stemmed from when I was at the summit last year and in Chicago, and Daniel Elkins was at the front of the room and he started talking about 501c3s. And the light bulb went off for me, and I was listening to the impact that a nonprofit would be able to find value in having a Lions Club associated with their nonprofit. I excused myself from the room. I went out in the hallway. I said, sorry, I got to make a call. I had met someone a few months prior in our community who they had put a 501c3 organization together with the foundation of anti-bullying. And she and her family popped into my head. I went out in the hall. I called Joanne and I said, Joanne, it's Denise. I have an idea of how I think we as Lions can help benefit the message that your organization and the impact that your organization wants to do. I need to meet with you. I'm home in 2 days. Can you meet Monday at 9 o'clock? And she said yes. And we started a new club. They started with 50 members of their club. And I didn't do this by myself. Our GAT team and our GET leader, Jay Norby, was an integral part of making this happen. And they are off and running. They've been extremely successful. They started, like I said, with 50 new members out of the gate because they already had in their nucleus of their nonprofit, they had people that wanted to help and wanted to carry this message of anti-bullying. So I took a look at then how did we be successful with that, and looked at this coming year. And I actually went on to the IRS website and I put in 8 counties that represent our district, and I put in nonprofits, and there's over 1,600 nonprofits, 501c3s within the 8 counties of our district. So that's part of the action plan for the GET team to be able to weed through those and prioritize what makes sense, and because they're not all going to make sense. But I can tell you that within our water tower of our community, I live in Brainerd, Minnesota. In a 30-mile radius of that water tower, we have over 600 501c3s. So let's just say every one of those would be viable. But Lions clubs that are already in existence, financially, we can probably only support maybe 5 or 6 of those existing 501c3s, right? So, and there's 65 clubs in our district. So what's going to happen with the other couple or there's, sorry, not in our community, we have 8 clubs in our surrounding area. And so what's going to happen to the other 200 or 300 nonprofits that don't have a Lions Club to help? Well, maybe they can come up with their own channel of a Lions Club. So the next thing that I did, and we did in our district, was leverage relationships. And back in the day, I called this daisy chain. because it's a friend. Who do you know? You leverage your friends, and you think of a daisy, and you've got that core nucleus of the center of a flower, but each one has a petal coming off that nucleus. And so, who do we know, and how can we leverage those relationships and continuing that daisy chain of getting to the right people and getting to the movers and shakers in the community? The mover and shaker doesn't have to go build a club with you, but it would be great if they did. But they just need to introduce you to other people in the community if you're going in somewhere that you don't know someone. So applying that daisy chain approach is successful. And then, of course, one of the last pieces is the power of teamwork. Our success this year wasn't about one individual person on our G team doing the work. Everyone had the responsibility on the team, and we leveraged people's core competencies and plugged and played them where we needed to get things done. We had our marketing team help us with messaging if we needed some messaging created. We have our district marketing team do that. I tell you, Jay Norby is the backbone of getting stuff done in the system for us. He knows what needs to get done to get the new clubs in the system and get that paperwork correct, and how do we get the EIN number, and he's a rock star with that. And so and the other thing that's so important is communication. I tell you what, our G team probably talked to each other at least once a week. And sometimes we talked to each other every day, depending on what was going on. So, teamwork is key, key, key. So, the key takeaways, you guys, for this is start with that playbook. Start with working with your team and figure out where you're going to run, figure out where you skinned your knees, and put that playbook together, learn from the past, and build off those wins. Use clear and consistent messaging that everyone on your team is speaking from the same playbook. Identify target markets. Maybe 501c3s are a new thing for us as an organization to look at. And then leverage relationships that are already out there. I think that we're pretty excited. We did just start a new club in the last couple of weeks, and it's a PTO. And I think that that might be with what's going on in the world and in schools and everyone needing help. And I think that Lions clubs can certainly be an opportunity for us in that avenue too. So that's what I have. It's been a hoot, and I'm looking forward to being the GET for our district in this upcoming year.
Denise, you've done a wonderful job. You have certainly had a wonderful year, and it's all because of team, like you said. It's grateful you're throwing those silos away. You're bringing everybody on deck. Now, I also know you're more than 100 new members so far this year, aren't you? You're in the positive.
We're in the positive. We're not quite to 100, but we're definitely close.
We got plenty of time left.
We sure do. We sure
Awesome.
do.